All right, guys, welcome to another edition of Win the Day Planner Content Library. We are super excited to have Sara Vatore, who is a peak performance coach and the owner of Peak Performance with Sara. She is going to talk about the mind and body connection. And oftentimes in the sports psychology world, we really focus on the mind, but she's going to focus a little bit more on that connection piece and the body's response to things that happen or might happen during an athletic performance. So, Sara, we're super excited to have you, and we look forward to you talking a little bit about that mind-body connection. So take it away.
Thanks so much for having me, Dan. Really happy to be here with you and to everyone who's watching this recording. So as Dan mentioned, oftentimes the body is left out of the equation. We only notice the body when things are bad, when we're really frustrated, when we're blowing up, when we're really nervous or feeling stressed out. And we often don't catch sort of the early warning signs of those things because as a culture and society, we're pretty cut off from our bodies, right? We're very neck up. We're very much in our heads. We do a lot of thinking. Animals, so we're wired to survive. And so our survival instincts take over. And oftentimes we're sorting and sifting and planning and in our head trying to avoid certain dangers, failure, worry, those kinds of things. And so what I like to do when I start to work with athletes is really highlight and explain what the mind-body connection is. And before I explain it in words, I want to give you all an experience. So Dan, will you play a little experiment with me?
Yep,
play a little
got
game?
it.
Awesome. Okay, so I want everyone, and Dan, take your left arm and put it completely out straight, palm up to the ceiling. Yep, and don't let it lean on anything. We want it up nice and straight. And you're going to take your right arm and your thumb straight up to the ceiling. Now I want everyone to close their eyes and no cheating, no peeking. You're going to use your imagination only. And in your imagination, I want you to vision that you have a big, heavy textbook that's pressing into your left palm. Big, heavy textbook, maybe an AP textbook, push down on the hand. And on your thumb is a string, and attached to the string is a big bunch of helium balloons. And your thumb just is feeling lighter and rising. And that hand with the book is feeling heavy, falling. And you might even feel that in your arm now, in your shoulder. Yeah, Dan's laughing. Okay, everyone freeze your arms and open your eyes and look at the difference. Look at Dan's. Everybody look at Dan's difference. Yeah. Okay, and take your arms down and shake them out. So Dan, my question to you, is that real or is that imagined?
I would say that would be imagined.
Imagine, guess again. Real or imagined?
Real.
It was a trick question.
Yeah.
Trick question. It's both, right? Because it is imagined. We're imagining the objects. We imagined that we had the book. We imagined that we had the balloons. But what actually happened in your body?
My left arm went down and my right arm went up.
Yeah, and could you physically feel
I could physically feel it. Yeah, I could feel it.
Yeah. And this is what's so interesting and where I geek out about the science of how the body works is the body can't tell the difference if something's real or imagined. So I'm going to say that again. The body can't tell the difference if something's real or imagined. And so if I'm in my head and it's Friday afternoon and coach wants me to do more conditioning because we were all goofing off at practice and all I'm thinking about is how tired I am and how much my legs hurt and how I can't wait to get home, my body is going to start to feel more and more tired and not energized. Or if I'm right before my swim meet and I'm behind the blocks and I'm jumping up and down, and then I think, oh no, I'm so nervous. I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous. Oh, that person's really good. I know they swim faster than me. If I'm in my head telling myself I'm nervous, it's going to amplify, make bigger those sensations in our body. And so when we're doing work and we're starting to explore this, mindset's very important. And I know there are lots of great coaches on here, lots of videos talking about the importance of mindset. And yes, our mind has a direct impact on our body, but our body also has a direct impact on our mind. The more stressed out I am in my body, the more negative thoughts I have. So the more my physiology gets stressed out, the more I'm going to have racing thoughts. And so in order to be a well-rounded athlete, in order to be at the top of your game, we need to make sure that we're holding an awareness, building awareness in both of these avenues. I can't change anything. I can't do anything differently if I don't know what I'm doing in the first place, if I'm not aware of it. So we're learning about the mind and mindset and how to shift on reprogram our brain. And then we also can learn about the body. And our body is governed by our nervous system. Our body is controlled by our survival responses. And so what that means is that when we sense any danger, and I'm putting danger in quotes because danger, like back in the day when we were living in caves, danger was all about our physical survival. There are these giant animals that were going to attack us. We were really wired for physical survival. But danger nowadays, danger for sport is fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of not making a team, fear of not getting to play in college, not getting, showing up in the way you want to if you're being recruited, fear of disappointing our parents, or disappointing a coach. All of those things show up in the body as if there is somebody chasing us with a knife or a big animal after us, right? Our heart rate increases. I don't have control over that. My breathing gets shallow. My muscles get tight, right? So all of a sudden I'm showing up if I'm sensing this danger or this fear of failure show up in my body and then affect my play. So what that might look like, right, is a soccer player who's not getting to the ball fast enough, right? Or if you're running and you're a runner, you're running cross country and you feel like you're running through sludge or slow motion. For my divers and gymnasts out there, that would look like you can't get off the board. Maybe you can't even do a dive that you know that you can do, or your rotational speed when you're flipping or twisting isn't as quick. So the body, really, our physiology, the science of our body, this is not woo-woo stuff here, right? This is really how our body is designed, directly impacts how we show up.
Wow. I have so many questions and so many aha moments. One thing that I do like to do is always try to uh, make the parallel between sport and real life. One of the things I tell all my students in class is the easiest way to change your mood when you're walking down the hallway is to smile at someone. Even if you don't like that person, your brain cannot tell the difference between a real smile and a fake smile. And the amount of kids that come up to me to say, "Yeah, I thought that was weird. Maybe you're playing tricks on me." I'm not playing tricks on you. Your body's telling you it's happy, 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 and that's a huge thing. There is something I wanted to mention, and this is a me thing.
Yeah.
When I was an athlete in high school, I was a well-conditioned athlete. I worked really, really hard, and I was a wrestler, and I worked really, really hard. I conditioned all the time, but somehow late in the match, I would always find myself getting tired. And
Yes.
looking back, I would say there I could wrestle 2 hours in practice with no problem, but the minute that fifth minute hit in a wrestling match, I was tired. And in hindsight, it was always me. Just whatever you do, Dan, don't get tired in there in this match. You can't lose if you don't get tired. You don't get tired. That's exactly what you're saying, right?
100%. That on top of when our body's sensing danger, like you not wanting to get tired, right? You worrying about that. And sometimes we worry and we can hear it, and sometimes our body is worrying. And when our body is worrying, that looks like adrenaline and cortisol, survival chemicals that come out, which makes our heart beat faster, everything tighten up. And if I'm pumping those chemicals, if I'm pumping them all day because I'm worried about a test and I got in a fight with my girlfriend and mom was in a bad mood on the way to practice and I'm pumping those chemicals, I'm going to be really tired and winded at practice. Or if I'm really stressed out before a match or during the match, like I'm hearing you say, by the fifth minute, you're going to be winded, you're going to die. And we see that all the time with racers, in swimming and in running and in, wrestling matches. Really, really common.
So two more things here. Now my mind is all over the place. As a coach, I'm thinking when you go to a wrestling tournament or a big pressure situation competition, we're talking about breathing. One of the things that is common practice for an athlete warming up, and you see it, their body is craving more oxygen. They start doing that pregame yawning where they start you start seeing this. Is that a telltale sign that we got some nerves going on and our body and our breathing is kind of in the panic mode? Is that right?
So it's interesting. So yawning is actually a sign of down regulation, not stress. And so there is a point sometimes where we're so stressed out, everything shuts off.
Gotcha.
And then we might yawn. But sometimes athletes will instigate a yawn or keep trying to yawn as a way to calm down. Yeah, so that's definitely one thing. But for a tip for anyone, if you're wanting to start to work on this and start to build awareness about this, is starting to pay attention when you are calm. Right? Like, what does it feel like in your body? I like to use a 0 to 10 scale where 0 is baseline. It's calm, it's summer vacation, no practice, no obligation, right? Like, no expectation, just calm. And 10 would be stressed out, freaked out, frustrated, angry, right? And so starting to learn your scale. If I don't know what my 0 feels like, I work with a ton of high school students, a ton of college students, everyone's stressed out most of the time. So if I don't know what a 0 feels like, it's an impossible ask of me to feel calm under pressure. And so what we want to start to do is build awareness about, okay, when I'm chilling with friends in a good mood, when I'm feeling confident, when I'm like really in the zone and in my sport, what does that physically feel like? When I'm saying feeling, I don't mean your emotions. I don't mean happy, sad, grumpy. I mean literally in your body. What does your shoulders feel like? When I'm feeling relaxed, like that my stomach is soft, I'm resting back down in my seat, like there's a back motion, as opposed to like if I'm stressed, I'm a little bit more in your face, a little bit more angst or amped up, right? So starting to pay attention and notice, okay, like where am I a 0 or where am I close to a 0, so that we can track that. So in a pressure situation, when you're in competition mode, you can start to notice, oh, I'm like a 3. I'm a 4. It's a lot easier to settle my body when my number is low than when I'm like freaking out at a 10. And we started with, right, like a lot of times we don't notice our bodies until there's a big problem,
Yeah.
right? And so the secret here for everyone listening or watching is to start to build awareness around, okay, like what is my stress cycle like? Like, what does it feel like when I'm calm? What does it feel like as I start to tick up that scale? Like, for me, like I feel it in my solar plexus. For my husband, he gets a stress knot in his throat. He feels a lump in his throat. It shows up differently in everybody's body. And so you get to start to learn and figure out and sort out what is that for you in your body, so that when you are under pressure, you can implement a tool that you're learning from any of the other videos, work with your breathing, long exhales. If you're feeling really jacked up, a long exhale is the fastest way to calm your nervous system down, to settle your body. A lot of times we're taught to take a deep breath, and that actually adds more charge in your system if I'm going to focus on my inhale. So shifting your awareness to like, how long can your exhale be? And that will help to settle your number. You're wanting your number to be in like a sweet zone of like 0 to 4 right before you compete. You don't want to be flatline dead. You want to have a little bit of amp, but you don't want to be so jacked up that it's really affecting how you're showing up in your game.
Last thing, I know I said a time limit here, but I have one more thing. This is big because I see this with a ton of athletes, and you've referenced it earlier in the conversation. Earlier in the day, you have a big game at 6 p.m. at night. I see it all day long. Our athletes are so jacked up all day long, and we would say things. I don't know the scientific or physiologically accurate statement, but we would say nervous energy is energy lost. Nervous can present itself in a lot of different ways. Just 1 or 2 minutes really quickly about that on game days, how we can stay, or why we should stay kind of calm and collected.
Yeah, such a great question. And that's really what I work on a lot with athletes is off the field or out of the competition ring, like we have to be working on our nervous systems. We have to have this awareness about our nervous systems so that at 9 o'clock in the morning, when I start to think about the upcoming match or race and I get jacked up and now all of a sudden I'm a 9, I have to be able to catch that and then use a tool to settle your nervous system. So that long exhale is a great tool. And then that is the work that I do. I teach athletes all sorts of different physiological tools that really help calm our bodies down. And so the awareness is the first place to start, because you're right. If I'm spending most of my day worried about my opponents or thinking about how I have to impress coach or how I want to show up, and I'm feeling really stressed out, that's that adrenaline and cortisol pumping that I'm talking about, those survival chemicals, and that will make you really tired by the time you have to play, by the time you have to show up and execute. And so the awareness early on and addressing that early on with really concrete physiological tools to calm your body down will create space, capacity in your body to get stressed out. When we're under pressure, we want to have lots of space to get what I would call activated. A lot of people call it anxious or frustrated or worried. And it's just activation. It's just a physiological response that we're having in our body. We don't have to make it be anything more than that. And so it's just like, oh, like we're building awareness. Oh, there's a negative thought. Oh, my heartbeat's racing, right? Like we're just identifying that as it's happening so that we can take care of it right away and come right back to what I would call staying in the now moment, right? Being in this present moment, because that's the only thing we really have control over. Spiraling in our worry thoughts about like the uncontrollables or like what's gonna happen, right? We're not psychics here. We can't predict the future. And so we don't want to like really believe those thoughts.
Very good. All right, Sara, that was some excellent stuff. If people wanted to find you, where can they find you on socials or contact information?
Yeah, so the best place is my website. I have a lot of great resources. It's Peak Perform with Sara. Sara is Sara. There's no H. So my website has those resources. And also, my father is an internationally known sports performance consultant, and his website is awesome. He's been in the work 40 years. So you can find 40 years of a blog and lots of different free resources. And that's competitiveedge.com. And the competitive and edge is shared with the E. So there's one E in between there. So those places are the best places to find me.
Very good. Sara, thank you so much. Athletes, check Sara out, and thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Win the Day Planner content series. Thank you.